You're listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. Discover ways to secure your home, protect your family, and enjoy fatherhood. Now, here's your host, Andy Murphy.
Welcome and thank you for listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. I'm Andy Murphy, the creator of the Secure Dad. I established this resource to help families live safer, happier lives. Today we're going to talk about being safe on the road this summer. I'm excited to have Trooper Bob Beres with us today to share some ways that we can drive safely this summer. He'll give us some great information, make us laugh, and stop us in our tracks to make us think. All of that ahead on the Secure Dad Podcast. As we approach the summer, do you know what to do to secure your home while you're gone on vacation? I dedicate a portion of my book, Home Security, The Secure Dad's Guide, to just that subject. Plus, the book will help you make your home safer every day when you're home or away. You can get your copy today on Amazon. Simply search The Secure Dad and the book shows up first. It's available in paperback and Kindle formats. My guest on the show today is Bob Beres, who's a retired lieutenant with the South Carolina Highway Patrol. You may know him by his beloved nickname, Trooper Bob. Before becoming a trooper, he spent 4 years in the United States Navy, where he served in Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. In 1994, he joined the ranks of the South Carolina Highway Patrol, where he earned the honor of Trooper of the Year in 2007. He is best known for his work on drunk driving awareness through his innovative emoji campaign on social media that led to national recognition, billboards, TV commercials, and even an Emmy for his outstanding work. Last year, Trooper Bob retired from the Highway Patrol and has now joined the ABC News 4 team in Charleston, South Carolina. Here's my conversation with Trooper Bob. All right, Trooper Bob, I appreciate you being on with me today. You know, when we as families are out traveling this summer, what is it that we need to remember when it comes to driving safely?
Well, what you need to remember is figure out where you're going. Figure out the area you're going to. If you're going to a heavily populated area, you're going to have to know that you're going to need to allow more travel time. You know, most of the kids are out of school this summer, so you can expect a lot more people vacationing, especially towards the beaches. A lot more summertime. When I was with the patrol, we called between Memorial Day and Labor Day the 100 deadly days of summer, and that's because more families are out there traveling, more people out there partying on the water, at the beaches, at the park. You definitely want to allow more travel time and more patience. Everyone's out there. Everyone wants to do the same thing, but nobody wants to wait, and that's not how we need to be. You know, there's more cars on the roadway now than there ever was. So a lot of these major arteries, I-26, I-95, especially going through South Carolina, you figure anyone going to Florida and Georgia, they're going to come through South Carolina on 95. And especially on the weekends, we see this Sunday afternoons. Sometimes it's like a parking lot coming through there. And it's not because there's a collision, it's because there's just heavy volume of traffic. There's only 2 lanes to go south and 2 lanes to go north. So we have to be a lot more patient, but allow extra travel time.
That's right. And you were talking about planning your trip, and how important is car maintenance when it comes to planning your trip?
Real important. You know, if your engine light's on now, it's going to be on a month from now. So you want to get that fixed and get that corrected. A couple things you need to know is your battery. Make sure your battery's working properly. Make sure you have a good charge in your battery, your radiator, your hoses, your belts. You want to make sure all that stuff's looked over before you go on a trip. If you have 100,000 miles on your car and you haven't had a tune-up yet, it's probably about time to go get one. Don't wait until something goes wrong. Especially proper air pressure in your tire. Not only does it extend the life of the tire, but it's going to give you better gas mileage and a better handling too.
That's right. And you just made a great point. If your check engine light is on now, it will still be on in a month unless you do something about it. So right. I tell you what, if my car does break down and leave me stranded on the side of the road, what should I have in my car to get through that situation?
Well, number one, dial star HP. If you're in South Carolina, dial star HP. It's a star 47. It's a free call. It goes to the local highway dispatch office. Know your surroundings. Know where you're at. Know what interstate you're on. What direction. What exit are you near? And one thing I found when I was a road trooper is people would come through our state all the time, or even locals. They wouldn't have the proper spare in their car. They'd have a spare from a vehicle that they had previously, or they didn't have a jack. Or, so make sure all your tools are there, all the equipment's there in your trunk in case you do break down, because something easy as a spare tire, you can change yourself. You wouldn't have to wait on anyone else.
You touched on this just a little while ago. We've got Memorial Day weekend coming up soon. So if anybody has to travel on that weekend or another major holiday weekend, what do you suggest that they do to have a smooth experience?
Pack your kids, pack your patience. Know if you're traveling to the beaches and the parks, you're going to have to park a little farther away. Traffic is going to be a little more congested along the coastline. And especially if you're going towards Myrtle Beach, if anyone knows anything, Memorial Weekend, I mean, there is just thousands and thousands of motorcycles, not just Harley Week, but also the sport bikes that you'll see on Memorial Weekend. If you're headed up towards North Carolina to Little River, coming from Charleston or vice versa, you're going to see heavy congestion over there on 17 and also 501.
Right. And you talk about packing the kids up. As parents who are listening to the show, what can we do to make sure that our kids are the safest they can be in the car, not just in the summer, but all the time?
Make sure everyone's buckled up, everyone's properly restrained in the vehicle. I'll tell you, it takes you 2 seconds to do. It doesn't cost you anything. There's a really good chance it's going to save your life. That's the easiest thing anyone can do.
You talked about seatbelts, and you have a very powerful quote about seatbelts. Can you share that one with us?
Sure. I mean, in 25 years of law enforcement, I went back and added up. I worked a little over 3,000 collisions in
Goodness.
25 years, and I've never unbuckled a dead person. I've never taken a seatbelt off a dead person. So I don't know why people won't wear it, but I've worked many collisions where someone got ejected out of the vehicle, lost an arm, decapitated, the vehicle landed on top of them. The ejection didn't kill them, but the vehicle rolled on top of them did. So please buckle up. It's the easiest thing you can do, and it's a good chance to go save your life.
If anybody who's listening to this podcast ever becomes a target of like road rage, what would you suggest they do to get out of that situation safely?
But if someone's behind you or on the side of you, and it's been back and forth, and you know what road rage is. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's somebody angry. They're trying to gain position on you or what. Just move over. Let them go by you. If they're behind you and they're right on your tail, let them go by. But call Star HP. You can even call 911. Report that vehicle. Know the direction to travel, the color of the vehicle, what they did to you, and a license plate if you can, and hopefully police will intercept that vehicle. But there's no reason to go back and forth trying to fight. Matter of fact, last week in here locally, we had a very serious case of road rage where somebody actually got out and shot the driver of the other vehicle, and the other driver ended up dying.
Goodness. Yeah, it's not worth trying to win an argument at 70 miles an hour on the interstate. Just let them be the bigger person and just let them go.
Absolutely.
That can get scary. You've been doing this a long time. You've been on the road for 25 years. What is one thing that you wish every driver in America knew?
The first thing that came to mind was I wish every driver in America knew what it was like to go to somebody's house or ring their doorbell and tell them their loved one's not coming home. Because
Mm,
when you do that, in the course of my career, I remember every house I've been to. I
wow.
remember standing at the front door. I remember the bicycles in the front yard, knowing there's kids in the house, and knowing that in 30 seconds when I ring that doorbell, I'm going to change somebody's life and alter their whole way of living when I tell them their loved one's not coming home. So if someone did that, you'd be a lot more safer and a better driver on the roadway, knowing you're not going to take these risks and drive drunk and speed and drive recklessly, knowing you can take somebody's life. When it becomes your family member, you take that a lot more seriously. And unfortunately, last year, law enforcement in South Carolina rang over 1,000 doorbells.
Oh, goodness. Man, and you're right. I think if everybody had that perspective, we would all drive a little bit better. I'm sure as being in law enforcement, nothing ever really prepared you for that moment, and there's nothing that really can prepare us as civilians to get that doorbell or hear the knock on the door and get that sort of news.
It's unfortunate, sad, but again, I remember every house I've ever been to, and those people remember me. I'm
Right.
not Trooper Bob to them. I'm that guy that told me my mom died. I'm that guy that told me my dad died. And they can tell you where they were, what they were doing at the time when I came and saw them, even back in 1994, because it alters your whole way of living.
Man. I know as former law enforcement, you get all sorts of questions by civilians, and some of them you like, some of you don't. But one of them that I like to ask is, what is the funniest thing to ever happen to you while you were on duty?
Oh wow! I could write a book, and I'm sure somebody would read it.
Oh, please
Um,
do. Yeah.
wow! I tell you, one thing that comes to mind was there was two Hungarian guys were broken down on 995 and
Hmm.
right outside St. George, headed northbound. I remember it was pouring down rain, and they cracked their window, and I saw the hood up, and I walked up and I said, "Hey, I'm Trooper Beres with the Howard Troop. May I help you? What's wrong?" And they looked at me and they said, "No English, we Hungarian." So I asked them in Hungarian, because that's where I'm from. I asked them in Hungarian what was wrong, and they just looked at me. They said, "How in the world do you know Hungarian?" And I said, "Well, that's the first thing they teach us in the academy." They said, "Here in South Carolina," and I was kind of joking, and I told them, "It's the Spanish. I get it. It's, I get the Hungarian. I just don't get the Spanish." But I was just joking around with them. But I was able to help many people throughout South Carolina speaking Hungarian as a second language.
That's great. That's great. So you retired last year from the South Carolina Highway Patrol. Tell us what you're up to now. Looks like you've got an interesting job.
Right. I'm excited about this. I'm the traffic safety expert for ABC News 4 here in Charleston. I drive the traffic tracker every morning, giving you the live updates from the roadways just as I see them in our Freddie Anderson Toyota traffic tracker. And I do that from 5 to 7 in the morning. And from 7 to 12, I'm somewhere in the community. Whether it's a blood drive, whether it's throwing the first pitch at the River Dogs game, delivering food for Bojangles, who are sponsors of us, and sponsors for lunch for first responders. But I want to show you something real quick, if I can. This is the Freddie Anderson Toyota traffic tracker vehicle.
You got a lot of fancy buttons in there.
Got a lot of buttons, a lot of things that keep you informed. And I'm going to walk outside for 1 second. It's got 8 high definition cameras.
Man, that's great.
That's the camera on the roof, gives me a 360-degree view of what's going on. And one cool thing is they even put the little trooper hat and emojis on there for our social media handle.
Emoji there. That's great. Yeah, and for those of you who may not realize it, Trooper Bob had catapulted himself into the national spotlight with his emoji campaign with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and it even earned him an Emmy Award. So what's it like to have that sort of an impact on drivers in South Carolina?
One thing I want to tell you, that if you have a dream out there, if you have a vision, and if you believe in something so strongly, don't just let it go. It took me a long time, several months, to get the Highway Patrol and the Office of Highway Safety to believe in this message: bear plus car equals police car. Before you knew it, it was on 170 billboards, 5 million high school sporting event tickets. We shot 2 commercials. It was on gas pump handles. So it was a message that resonated with everyone. When I asked my mom, what do you think of this message? She said, that means bear plus car equals police car. And my mom being from Hungary, I'm like, if my mom can get that, the world can get that. Just think how many people can't speak English, but they're getting a serious message across using emojis. And fortunately, we were able to win an Emmy for the emoji message, or Silver Slammer commercial.
Man, that is awesome. So, if listeners want to know more about you, I'm sure people are discovering you for the first time today. Where can they find you?
Sure. You can catch me on social media, Twitter or Instagram, and my handle's at TrooperBob_SC for South Carolina, or my ABC News Facebook page. It's Trooper Bob at ABC News 4.
Trooper Bob, I appreciate all that you have done in your 25 years on the road with the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and I appreciate now what you're doing with ABC News 4. Thank you for all that you've done for drivers everywhere, buddy.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for taking time out this morning.
If you'd like to see the video of the traffic tracker vehicle that Bob shows us, you can find that in today's show notes. Those can be found at thesecuredad.com/podcast. For more on Trooper Bob and what he's up to now, you can find him on Instagram and Twitter at the handle TrooperBob_SC. That's all we have for the Secure Dad podcast today. I want to say thank you again to Trooper Bob for being on the show today. I very much appreciate what he shared with us. I especially appreciated the perspective of delivering bad news to families. If we all knew what that burden was like, I think we would all drive safer. So let's commit now to driving safer and saving lives. Don't forget, if you have a moment, please leave a rating and a review for the podcast. When you do, it helps other parents find the show and helps us reach as many people as we can. I'm Andy Murphy, and until next time, take care and be secure.
You've been listening to the Secure Dad Podcast. For more information on making your home safer, check out Andy's book, Home Security: The Secure Dad's Guide. Available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats.